everyone. Welcome to Locked On Lakers for Wednesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. We're still living with the aftermath of Game 2, Andy. What could happen in Game 3 that might change LA's fortunes? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. It's always free. It's never behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 23,000 subscribers, Andy, many of whom have given up hope, but not all of them. Some of them are still hanging on with Game 3 coming up on Thursday. I do want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150. Win or lose, visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. We didn't get to some of the reinforcements that might be available for the Lakers on Thursday, so we'll talk about that over the course of the show and how that might impact the Lakers. We will get a little bit more into the comments that Anthony Davis made about Darvin Ham. Was it about Darvin Ham? It was about, could be about a lot of things. After Game 2, the 101-99 loss. And Andy, I know both of us went back and reviewed a little bit of what happened in Game 2 and how things went so horribly wrong. And had some observations, with the benefit of a night's rest.
Yeah, I mean, the bit I rewatched the second half of the game, and there were a few things that jumped out at me, but the biggest thing, because I think it directly led to a few other issues, is beyond the fact that the Laker offense got really bad and unproductive. They only scored 40 points in the second half. It got so slow. Like, it turned so incredibly slow. And like, at times it felt like they were trying to bleed clock, like going back to even like the third quarter, like they were trying to not even put the game away, but like get the game done with, which obviously you cannot do in an NBA game, much less in an NBA game against Denver Nuggets. At times it just felt like it got...
In fairness to them, I was also yelling at my TV for the clock to go faster. So sure, I understand the impulse, if nothing else.
I get it, but it ain't how it works.
Nope.
There are other times where I thought it just got stagnant, but either way, it hurt the shot quality. It hurt the type of offense that they were running or not running. I think at times this was due to a fatigue factor for LeBron. He really vacillated in the second half, in particular the fourth quarter, between like downright brilliance and obvious fatigue. And we've talked about this before. You and I used to see this all the time, Brian, in the 10 years we covered Kobe, including the, Kobe Powell era championships. As incredible of a player as Kobe was, and often as, he had as much stamina to get through games as any player you'll ever see. Kobe would sometimes get tired, and tired players make bad decisions. Mm-hmm. And it often felt like LeBron's decision-making in this game, at least in part, could be related to fatigue. And then I think that also extended to...
Did you have a problem with his decision-making broadly, or are you just talking about the speed with which he was moving?
All of it. I think, again, there were times where I thought his decision-making was fantastic, but what I'm about to get to in terms of the way the offense grew stagnant, with clock getting bled down before it even looked like they were setting up running anything, which often turned into running nothing. The lack of looks towards Anthony Davis, particularly down the stretch. A lot of that was LeBron, because the ball was in LeBron's hands more than anybody else. Again, at times it led to some really good plays, but other times it just felt like they were trying to, again, get either too methodical, too slow, take their breath too much, bleed the clock, whatever. But I thought that was something that rewatching that really jumped out in terms of the offense stopping, and what we saw for the first half and the opening 4 or 5 minutes of the third quarter versus the last 7 minutes of the third quarter and most of what followed.
Yeah, and I think Denver obviously made the switch. A lot of people are talking about it. That where they moved Jokic off of AD and put Aaron Gordon on him. Obviously, Gordon is a better defender than Jokic, but they like to have him, similar how the Lakers like to keep AD available, to kind of roam the help side and all that kind of stuff to do that. That was something that impacted the Lakers. They changed up the way they were covering some of those pick and rolls and all that kind of stuff that the Lakers were doing and having some effectiveness with. I was struck to like what you're talking about. Obviously, they got much slower in the second half than the first. And it was reflective to me of a team that doesn't like, for all of the, the talk and the confidence, and then we've got LeBron and Anthony Davis and we don't care about seeding and this and that, whatever, is filled with enough veteran players to know that, sort of the DNA of your ability to win in a series and win championships and advance to, first round, second round, third round, and beat really good teams. And I don't think there's a better team in the NBA than the Denver Nuggets, is built over the 82 games and the habits and all that kind of stuff and the muscle memory you build. And the Lakers have seen too many games where good play isn't sustained for 48 minutes. It's something that has been a theme. We just got to do it for 48 minutes. We haven't been able to string together 48 minutes. And like, go back from game one to the end of the regular season, it was a constant theme. And so I know, like, Lakers fans, I was joking, like, to myself, I was trying to figure out during the game last night when the Lakers got up 20, on Monday, where, like, how much that league could get cut into without me feeling really nervous about it. And the number I came up with was 17. Every time the lead got under 17, I got nervous, which, and so that explains, I think Lakers fans have seen this, but it also, I think that what you're talking about is because the Lakers themselves understood this same pattern. And, when Denver starts chipping away, they didn't react with confidence with a belief that what they could do could respond. Even when they got buckets late, it wasn't like buckets of, guys, wait, let's just go back to our principles. We'll move the ball around. We'll get rolling, all that stuff. It was LeBron burying threes. It was Austin Reeves making a tough shot. It was, D'Lo penetrating and getting it. I could see them bleeding confidence. And that to me was what stuck out, watching that again.
Like I said, it felt like they were starting to try to bleed clock with like 18 minutes left in the game, which you simply can't do. Like you just mentioned that D'Lo layup. I believe it was the second to last basket that the Lakers got in this game. One of the things that, especially upon the rewatch, really jumped out at me wasn't even just they needed a big score and D'Lo got it. It was one of the only times where they decisively ran something, and they ran it quickly and crisply and with a very obvious purpose. Like, it was one of the actual few times in the second half or in like the last 17, 18 minutes of the game. And like,
because even when they got into a set, and they did run some sets, later in the fourth quarter and stuff, like, even when they got into a set, they were so slow getting there.
And this is a bad habit that the Lakers have had all season. It is, again, I think at times a bad LeBron habit that comes from whether LeBron sometimes is getting fatigued over these games and he's using those seconds to catch his breath, or it's a control thing, where LeBron is going into control, like super controlling the offense mode, where he's really just not getting rid of the ball until he absolutely feels confident about what's going to happen. I'm sure there are elements of how Denver's defending it, but the point being, though, like, there was a point where Jamal Crawford, and you and I know Jamal a bit, we love Jamal, but he was part of the booth. And I remember it was maybe 3 or 4 minutes left in the third quarter, Jamal was talking about the Laker offense really slowing down, and LeBron was handling the ball, and he's like, LeBron is forcing his tempo. The Lakers are forcing their tempo onto Denver. And I was like, I love you, Jamal, but you've not watched this team enough. That's not a good thing. This is not a good sign of things that are going to come.
And I just felt like too, I think there was fatigue playing at LeBron trying to pace himself. I also feel that the Lakers were, because they have a bad habit of like once teams started like getting sped up and now they're making bad decisions and they shoot too quickly. And that's when you get the D'Lo hero ball or like Spencer Dinwiddie going way too early in a clock, and you're not set, you're not running it. And so again, you end up in a situation where you're even when like your idea is right, like let's not respond by overreact, let's be calm, let's go, but now we're going too slow. And let's take a break. When we come back, this to me is the difference between the Lakers and the Nuggets, or the Lakers and the Celtics, or Lakers and the elite teams in the league, is this ability to respond with confidence and muscle memory in adverse situations. And I think this was crystallized in Game 2. We'll get to it next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by DoorDash. Mother's Day is coming, and it's important to make your mother, the mother of your children, the mother figure in your life, smile. Moms are a gift, and they deserve gifts. You can surprise her with anything from roses to chocolate or the latest techie gadget that she's really into, but you're too dumb to understand. Or this is my advice, don't try for clever points. Cut out the guesswork. Just ask her, what do you want? And then order that, because it'll make her happy. But no matter what your strategy is, all of these gifts can arrive at the door via DoorDash. Shop with savings that would make her proud. With the DoorDash membership, you can save with a $0 delivery fee and reduced service fees on eligible orders from DoorDash merchants that meet the minimum subtotal. Other fees, including the service fee, may apply. Other terms apply. Get your Mother's Day gifts all in one place and get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 plus on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail order now with the code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply.
Locked On Lakers, also brought to you by Monopoly Go. Let's say you approach Mother's Day differently. What if you'd rather just steal all of the loot from your mother's bank, and put her out, all that stuff, thrash her in Monopoly Go? This could be what you do, because maybe you're just so competitive that not even Mother's Day gets in the way of your competitive side. Monopoly Go has been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly, where you play not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. And the best part is messing with your friends and family. It's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends, family, people all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now for free on the App Store or Google Play. So when you start to break down where the fault lies, like how we got here, for the season, I think what we're talking about in that first segment is really fundamental to that. And I say this without, while recognizing not everything was the shortcomings of the front office or of Darvin Ham or all this other. Circumstances did play a role here. It was difficult for the Lakers to find sort of a rhythm and continuity, because a lot of the guys that would eventually be relied on when the thing kind of turned in the second half of the season either weren't available or weren't playing very well earlier in the season. Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura was hurt. There were circumstances. But that said, it took them way too long to establish what they are and pick a lane for what they were going to be. And the result is that when you get to a place where you have to be able to perform at a very high level, and I'm not sure the Lakers ever could have gotten to a place where you go in and say, I think they're better than the Nuggets. But when you get to a place where you have to perform at a high level, that you're not thinking about it. This is something that you've had so many reps at as a team that you can do it under hard circumstances. And that to me is where the Lakers have failed. Like they don't have the reps to try to go toe to toe in an execution battle with a team like Denver. I'm not sure anybody does, but the Lakers did not maximize their regular season in even close and anywhere close to maximizing their regular season and the opportunity that that's supposed to bring you to get to this point. And I feel like we're seeing the results of that now, where they don't look confident in what they're going to do, which gets in a second here to what Anthony Davis is talking about after the game.
Yeah. I mean, before we get to AD, I also want to just quickly address something because it also relates to execution and decisions and stuff like that. Probably the most prevalent comment that we had in the YouTube comment section from Tuesday's show was, why didn't you and I talk about the final shot, the three-pointer LeBron missed? I can only speak for myself. It's a short explanation. I have no problem with the shot.
A wide open three-pointer. I mean,
right.
What else? He could have bled clock for another. I mean, passed the ball, got it back, and run the clock down another 6 or 7 seconds, but not much more than that, because
not much more than that.
Clock.
You don't know that you're going to get a better shot, particularly given how few good shots they had manufactured up to that point. LeBron had just made 2 threes. This is the best 3-point shooting season of his career. He's been above 40%. He's frankly been awesome from behind the arc. It was a wide open look.
And it wasn't a last shot situation. Denver was going to get the ball back with 7 or 8 seconds left, no matter what the Lakers did.
Exactly. So that's the explanation. I mean, seems like you're the same way too. I had no issue.
I didn't think it was worth discussing.
Neither did I.
So a lot of people thought whatever was too soft on Reeves. I didn't think he played very well. I was just giving him a little bit of a break because I thought he defended Jamal Murray, pretty well. And that is an important part of what he's assigned to do. It needs to do more offensively. And I don't think he's played in the aggregate. It hasn't been good enough. Nearly good enough over the first 2 games of the series. Just giving him a little bit of grace because of the defensive assignment. So Anthony Davis obviously made a lot of headlines following game 2. He was obviously very frustrated, joined the club. But he said after the game that, being kind of asked like what went wrong. So he just basically that there are too many stretches on both sides of the ball where they don't know what they're doing. And it was, again, like to what I was saying before, like that's what I'm getting at. Like they don't know what they're doing. They're not confident in what they're doing. Their coverages aren't on point in every way. And Davis's frustration was incredibly obvious. Most people took that as a shot at the coaching staff. I know,
as
I
did
certainly
we.
did. Yeah. I think there's some shots at his teammates in there as well.
But
fundamental, I think it is also, I think it starts with the coaching staff, but I don't think he's not talking about the rest of the team either.
I was going to say it did not occur to me as much that it could be. We don't truly know any of this, but I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that was at least something of a shot at the coaching staff, given other things we've heard from other players, including Anthony Davis. I'm just willing to go there. As far as the other teammates who specifically he might be talking about, I don't know for sure, but rewatching that second half, rewatching how little, AD got a couple shots in the third quarter, one in the fourth, like a couple attempts. And to be clear, they didn't really go well for AD, but he had very, very limited opportunity, particularly in the fourth. And it's funny, you were talking about knowing what they're going to be doing, having confidence in what they're going to be doing. You see the difference in the 2-man game between Jokic and Murray that does not really fluctuate no matter what is going on in the game. And you never really feel like those two ever lack confidence, or the guys around them, as that 2-man game being their foundation. Anthony Davis cannot get himself the ball. And it's not unusual for offenses to break down across the league, across teams over the course of close games. Like it happens a lot where you see teams abandon their offense. It's frankly more common than uncommon. And often the ball ends up just residing a lot in the hands of your best player. You expect that guy to get buckets or make plays. Anthony Davis is never going to be the guy that can unilaterally get himself the ball. And I think that's where some of that frustration can be felt by fans, or certainly by AD, because in a game where he spent most of the time killing Denver and he's been really good offensively, you can scream up and down about how AD should be demanding the ball, blah, 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 but there is truly only so much he can do in a game to get himself the ball. Like those are platitudes and cliches. The reality is he still is at the mercy of his teammates because he does not run
and the coaching staff to come up with a to get the adjustments to run the stuff.
But he's not Jokic is the point. Like he's not somebody that the offense will start with. He's somebody that the offense will flow to or end with. And that's where it felt to me like he may have been talking about some of his teammates too. Like how the F can you not figure out how to get me the ball?
Yeah.
Assuming you're even thinking about it.
So obviously a healthy dose of frustration there for AD, but there's also a larger meta commentary that comes out because you are so angry at yourself, at your performance, at other teammates, whatever, so maybe some of it's, but there's a lot of truth there. In the last segment, before we get to the stuff with Vando and Wood and what that might do for the Lakers for the rest of the series if they can somehow keep this thing going. I want to talk about like not just what that means for this summer, because we'll get to that, but I'm wondering if it means anything for the rest of the series to put that out there. So I'll ask you that question next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. It is obviously the playoffs in the NBA, also the NHL. Baseball's in full swing. FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets. Guaranteed, that's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs, slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, really easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
Locked on Lakers brought to you by BetterHelp. We all need an opportunity sometimes to get things off our chests. It can be big or small, certain things that get to you. It can be work, it can be personal, whatever it might be. To have a resource, somebody who's unbiased in your life to talk to be kind of a sounding board, it's really critical. So you may have been thinking about the same thing and wondering where you can go for that. Therapy has been something that's been very good for both of us at different points in our lives. It is something that can be extremely beneficial to people. And it's important when you have those kinds of feelings where you feel like you got to get something off your chest, you feel like you need somebody to talk to, that you find somebody to do it with. And if you want to start therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible, suited to your schedule. Again, can't recommend enough the benefits of therapy at times. And, sometimes even before things go from small to big. So visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. There are times when players will say things, Andy, as like, I'm going to, motivate my guys. I'm going to put this out there, and it's, officials, leaning on the refs, or players, saying, Kobe playing psychological games with Pau Gasol or whatever, where it's calculated. This was not that. I don't think this was Anthony Davis trying to say something calculated to change the way wasn't my reading. This was, to me, purely an expression of anger and frustration over the inability for this Lakers team to perform at the level that I think he thinks it ought to be performing at, and that they're capable of performing. And this thing is now out there as a thing that we're, mostly a shot. I think most people interpret as a shot at the coaching staff. I think it's a sign of what the Lakers need to do in this offseason, but they still got to play 2 more games. I'm wondering if there's any kind of impact, whether galvanizing or whatever the opposite of that is, over these last couple
deflating.
Games. Yeah.
Demoralizing.
You're putting something out there again and it's not like he's going to go back and be like, I wasn't talking about you can't. It's not something that's out there that can be really walked back in any believable way.
I don't see this as an either or. I think there was something calculated in the sense that if nothing else, he wants to get people's attention. Like whether it was calculated in terms of trying to send a ripple effect through the organization, leading to either Darvin Ham getting fired or massive changes along the road. Like what there's
or just even we don't trying to engender more focus in what they're doing or something.
I do think you don't say that without knowing you're going to be getting people's attention. Again, whether there's like 6-dimensional chess being played, I don't know, but I don't think it matters because a statement like that gets everybody's attention by definition. But I can't imagine that if you're in Anthony Davis's place and you make a statement like we have too many stretches where we don't know what we're doing on both sides of the ball, that's not a plea to, hey, let's figure out what we're doing on both sides of the ball, like now, right now.
One thing that could help the Lakers is, all season long and certainly into this series, there has been the call for the Lakers to play big. It's been very difficult for them to do that because 2 of their bigs aren't available. Jared Vanderbilt and Christian Wood. Both have been out a very long time. Both could be back. Wood, I think, expected to play, and Vanderbilt gearing to play. Nothing quite guaranteed yet in Game 3. Let's just say, Andy, both of them are available. Are either of them capable of making an impact, and do you just throw them in there and see what they can do? One or both of them?
I think both are capable of making at least an incremental impact because both are capable of helping them in a real problem area, which is rebounding. They're 2 of the better rebounders on this team. Jared Vanderbilt is, other than AD, I'd argue the best offensive rebounder. They could use more opportunities to score. So in that sense, both of them, I think, directly affect problem areas for the team. So in that sense, even if they're both still rounding into form, I think both of them could be helpful. Christian Wood, in theory, could help juice a second unit, that literally has had no scoring other than Taurean Prince, at all. So
in the most literal sense.
Yeah. Christian Wood can't possibly hurt along those lines. And I also think with Jared Vanderbilt, I would rather, assuming he is, physically capable of playing even at 70% of Jared Vanderbilt, I would rather at this point have him in the game as a defensive option over Gabe Vincent, because at this point, Gabe Vincent has been a literal offensive zero. And even if you think Vando will also not contribute anything offensively, he can help defensively in the ways that you expect from Vincent while shoring up the rebounding issues. And I think some of the hustle play issues, I know Vincent does that as well, but I think
there's an energy that Vanderbilt brings to this team.
There's an energy and an edge. Vanderbilt has an edge that, even though I think Vincent has very admirably tried to bring in his own right, it's not the same as Vando's. He doesn't know these guys as well. I think these guys, frankly, want Vando back. They've talked a lot about how much they miss him. He's all, both those guys too are bigger players that, particularly Wood, that maybe you can put on Jokic for a few minutes, if for no other reason than conserving the energies of AD, LeBron, and Rui for those minutes.
Oh, by the way, that was the other thing in terms of those first half to second half. By this time, it's pretty well established that, Nikola Jokic, if you leave him one-on-one, annihilates you. And I understand, sometimes Rui's going to have to guard Jokic, and they had more AD on Jokic. The foul trouble made a difference and all that kind of stuff. But
the foul trouble, though, is also in part why they're reluctant to do it.
I get it, but like when you have there were too many possessions where Hachimura was just left on an island with no double coming. That was just like that kind of stuff can't happen. I don't know if that's players not reacting properly. I don't know if that's the coaching staff directing them in ways that are stupid. But like those are the kinds of things that happen where you go, okay, you got the matchup, it's going to be what it is, but where is the double? And stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes. And like you say, maybe somebody a larger body might have more success. We'll talk more about this ahead of Game 4 for Thursday, but it is interesting to think about what they might be able to try to do with 15 minutes of Jared Vanderbilt and what difference that might make, because again, he just makes a mental difference to this team.
I was going to say, before we go real quick, we're talking about the spirit of this team and how do you recover from such a deflating loss. Jared Vanderbilt returning does not solve that by himself, but I do think he will provide an emotional lift for this team, because again, it's pretty obvious they want him back. Yeah. They think he's important.
Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 23,000 subscribers. We'll get you ready for Game 3 on Thursday and see how things go. It's not over yet, Andy. It's not over yet. The series hasn't even started yet because nobody's won on somebody else's floor. We'll see everyone tomorrow.